Swimming like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome to the Shrimp Tank Charleston Show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins. The Shrimp Tank Charleston is a nationally syndicated podcast that can be heard and watched on YouTube, Google, Apple, and Spotify. You can also tune in and subscribe to our shows on our website. Go to www.eellc.com for past episodes and shows. So I'm very excited. We have a very interesting guest, Mr. J.R. McMullin from Coastal Security Services, which is a really interesting company. Let me just give you a little quick background on Mr. McMullin. He is a Citadel graduate. Were you there when, like, the hazing and stuff was going on, or did that end?
I wasn't present for that. I've heard about it.
But you didn't get beaten? Or?
It wasn't me. No. I was lucky. Actually, I was a veteran going into the Citadel, so I attended the evening undergraduate program.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And JR was in the Coast Guard for a period of time, and then he went on to become the Chief Operating Officer at Coastal Securities and Investigative Services, better known as CSSI, headquartered in Bluffton, South Carolina. And we're going to hear about this robust company that has over 250 people helping and investigating and being a part of all kinds of stuff, from security of facilities, whether that's healthcare, industrial buildings, ports, schools. Then they get into private investigation work. So, like, Kristen, if you need Coastal Security Services to, like, investigate a boyfriend or something for you to see if he's doing anything wrong,
I'll keep that in mind.
You can use their PI services. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to hear all about this company, but also Mr. J.R. McMullin. So thank you. Welcome to the Shrimp Tank Charleston, JR. I hope you have a unbelievable time coming in from Bluffton, but thank you for coming in.
Great. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, or tell the millions of subscribers and listeners of the Shrimp Tank Charleston. Are you from Bluffton?
I'm not. I was raised in South Carolina. I was originally born in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. Parents made our way down. I was a young boy at the time, but I was raised in Hilton Head and Bluffton.
Where'd you go to high school?
Attended Hilton Head High and Hilton Head Prep, both.
How old are you?
I'm 33.
33. Isn't Shep from the guy from Southern Charm? Didn't he go to one of those schools?
Yes, he's a little bit older. He's about, I would say, 2 graduating classes above.
Do you do any security detail for Shep?
We actually have.
Oh, really?
Yes.
He needs security? Like he has people coming after him and stuff?
No, there were a couple events he attended. They just wanted assistance with, like, crowd control and just be able to get him.
Wow.
around.
I was just kind of making a joke there, but
No.
geez, Shep. That's pretty cool. And so, okay, you grew up, parents married, divorced?
They're together.
They're together.
Mm-hmm.
And you grew up with, I know that your dad started the company originally, but did you guys grow up around money, or was it, kind of give us that little flavor of what that life was like?
No. I mean, I would say we weren't living paycheck to paycheck, but my parents, when they originally moved back to South Carolina, my mom had a large corporate job. She was traveling, doing corporate sales for Revlon, responsible from New York all the way to Dallas. She was traveling, crazy job, hard to be around a family with that. My dad was in federal law enforcement, working undercover dope, doing drug deals, stuff like that.
He's like a narc, or like...
He was, and started in the police force. He went to the FBI Academy, and then he was working with other groups, kind of like a joint group, to help do larger drug dealings and kind of uncovering drug networks. Too high risk. My mom one day just said, this is too much. We have young kids. He decided to kind of close that door. To make it a short story, they ended up, they always vacationed in Hilton Head, and when we were really young, they said, why don't we just move there and raise our children there? So they packed everything up. We moved down into a small condo, my mom found other jobs to work in, different marketing areas. Dad kind of bounced around between different jobs for security. When the company was founded, it was the same year he was actually diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Really?
In 2000, he was diagnosed in pretty much the end of 06 and into 07, and I was a junior in high school. So they founded the company, started with one employee and everything, and got it rolling from there. But
and that was 2006 that happened.
That was 06.
So from 06 to 2023, the company went from one employee to over 250 employees.
Yes, and we still have our first employee. He's like an uncle to me.
And your dad's still alive?
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of cancer did he have?
He had colon, rectal, lymph node, and lung.
Oh my God.
He currently has about 3/4 of one lung. So he struggles really. I mean, a similar symptom is like COPD. So he struggles with that. Pretty much immobile. I mean, he gets around with a scooter and stuff like that, and he's got a service dog. But he has proven multiple doctors and multiple people. MUSC. He was at MD Anderson for the majority of his initial care. Received some great treatment, but just blew people's minds. I mean, on 3 different occasions, they've given him 3 to 6 months to live. And he'd laugh and say, I got too much to do.
Really?
Yeah.
The mind is powerful. You got a positive mindset. People sometimes take it for granted how powerful, especially, do you have kids?
I do.
How old are your kids?
I got a 2-year-old little girl and a 2-month-old little boy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
we're in the fun part of that.
Yeah, it's not that fun, to be honest with you. I'm sorry, but it gets a lot better. But I tell my boys, they play basketball, and I'm always like, if you get a negative thought in your head, it's going to affect the way you play. Just like if you got negative thoughts in business and all that kind of stuff, you're going to end up having a negative outcome. So hats off to your dad, man.
Yeah, you got to stay optimistic. I mean, he's one of the toughest people I know on earth.
Does he have any like special stories, like movie stories where he's, I can't remember the movie with Russell Crowe, American Gangster, where he's an undercover cop with Denzel Washington is the drug dealer. True story. Frank something. You know that movie? You never saw that American Gangster? Did you see that movie?
I did, yes. I'm trying to...
Frank.
I'm drawing a blank on Frank's last name, but I remember it well. Great movie.
It's a great movie, Kristen. You need to see that.
Excellent.
American Gangster. Paramount. Okay, I got that in for Paramount. I had to somehow get the American Gangster movie in the episode, and I just did. Okay, so, but did your dad have any crazy stories like that?
A couple stick out. Yeah, I mean, he always told us really cool moments. He was, I remember he was doing a large deal with a group. I believe they're actually members of Hell's Angels. And him and his police partner, I mean, this is the old days. I mean, this is not...
Does he have like long hair and like a goatee?
Totally. He was one of the only people to ever graduate the FBI Academy with a full beard and just long hair. So he looked totally different than everybody else. I mean, but yes, he was very much undercover. He was doing a deal once, and they carried little .38 revolvers that they could conceal and carry in their waistline and stuff. And I guess they were walking down a stairwell, after the deal had been made, and they were trying to get out of the building with them to then make an arrest. And the pistol fell out of his waist, and started falling down his pants. So he grabbed it and pretended he hurt his knee. And so he was making his way down the steps, and then he got the pistol out fell out of his pants, and then he held it up and said, "All right, all you guys are under arrest."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was that Pablo Escobar by chance?
No.
Did he meet Pablo Escobar?
No, I don't believe so.
Jeez. What kind of guest or chase bringing in here? I thought we had Pablo Escobar stories here, but all right. So obviously you have this, your parents are, your mom obviously sounds like she was a hard worker. Your dad sounds like he's just a complete badass. So you had it sounds like two really strong mentors that you could kind of absorb work ethic and how to make things happen.
Absolutely.
And then the cancer, your dad beating stage 4 cancers 3 times is unbelievable. I can't say enough about that. That's unbelievable. So you go on, the company's starting to grow, or is it just kind of getting by?
We're actively growing.
I mean, at that time, at that 06 to let's call it 2010 time.
So I actually came officially on board in 2013 after my Coast Guard term and being at Citadel and those things. So it was, when I came on board, we had roughly 28 employees. So it was a slower growth. I mean, understanding my dad was still dealing with health issues, but it was a total family business. I mean, it was what put food on the table, and we were actively, if someone called out, if there was an issue at work, I mean, we were completely living, eating, and breathing coastal security. That's what it took. I mean, without our family, I mean, it would have never gotten off the ground to a growable level per se.
Your mom's working in there too?
Yep.
Really?
Full
Still?
time. Still, yep. To this day, I work across the hall from her.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. How hard is that, working with family? You have siblings?
I do have a younger brother.
Does he work in the business too?
He does, yeah. So he's
Do
in
you
the
guys
field.
like each other?
We do, of course.
Still, well, what are you going to say on the show? You got to say that.
That work dynamic is tough. I mean, but I think the one thing it brings to the table is really a trust factor. There's a lot of trust you can put in your family member opposed to a coworker, and knowing that they're going to get the job done, and that was critical for our initial growth. Was I trusted my brother to cover a shift, and I would go work different shifts, even down to my mom and dad. I mean,
so I mean, you're not just doing the operational administrative type running a company work. You're at that time you're actually part of the security guard detail.
Yes.
You are carrying a gun and doing your thing.
Yes.
And so you come into the company, married or not married when you first come into the company?
I was not married at that time.
Okay. So you can just work till 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. Doesn't matter.
Yep. Had a dog. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, that's important. You got to take care of the dog.
Yeah.
And for those of you, when we're talking about coastal security services, better known as CSSI, we're not talking about your home alarm security type of company. Or I don't know, maybe y'all do some of that.
We have tech partners, but no, us as a company, we do not do any hardware or install stuff.
Okay, so we're talking about a company that if you live in a neighborhood and there's securities, and there's plenty of these around Bluffton and Hilton Head, when you go into Sea Pines, they have security that they outsource to. Potentially they're outsourcing to coastal security. If you own warehouses or you own industrial buildings and there needs to be security or work to be done, you potentially are calling your company.
That's correct.
And you shared with me before we got on the air about healthcare and being on basically the security for a lot of hospitals and healthcare facilities. Kind of share that story about, because I never think about that. I'm thinking that the police are the only ones there. I'm not even paying attention to it. But I guess there is a definite need a lot of times. So you were talking about in the emergency room when someone has been shot and they're bleeding all out everywhere, the family starts coming in and you get involved.
Yeah, I mean, the healthcare environment poses a really interesting dynamic for security and keeping order. It has a opportunity to bring a lot of emotion, a lot of craziness. Where you just never know what's going to come to the door, especially of an emergency room. Some of the ones we work at are level 1 trauma centers, so they're they see they have life flights that come in with helicopters from tragic car wrecks. Gang-related shootings, anything you can think of where there's a traumatic incident, and the aftermath is generally. I mean, recently there was a celebrity that got in a car wreck near one of our hospitals, and when he moved there, it went viral.
Can you tell us who the celebrity is?
I'd rather not.
Well, isn't it public? It probably was public, wasn't it?
It is.
Were you hired by the celebrity to?
No.
Okay.
No, the healthcare facility basically put out a additional request for security where we had to bring in additional staff, but it went viral on TikTok and all the other social media networks that he was there. and it brought a massive crowd. I mean, they were all in the parking lot. They all wanted to see
Who is this, Kristen? What happened in Bluffton? Was it in Bluffton or in Hillhead?
This was in Savannah.
This was in Savannah. Who's that?
No idea. I don't
You need to Google that right now and tell me who that is. Who got into a car accident? I mean,
It was public, and it's he was wanted for a lot of different issues. So, but it provided a really interesting dynamic in that environment. So our security really had to keep order, had to keep people.
because the family and all these people are coming into the hospital type thing, or just the fans, or
Not only fans, but there was potential threats against him. So people wanted him to not live. So there was
Really?
threats. I mean, and then gang related, same thing. You know, if there's a gang related shooting, I mean, we've seen sometimes where the order of beds and where they put people, they may put opposing gang members next to each other. So when families come in, or if there was an issue, you can imagine sitting in an emergency room where the two people that are being treated for care, don't really like each other.
wow, there's so many unbelievable stories that we can learn about today. But I don't want to just talk about these great stories. I also want to talk about the growth of your company, because to go from 28 employees to now close to 300 is pretty unbelievable growth. So I want to get your perspective on kind of why you think the company has done that type of growth. Was it organic? Was it acquisition? I want to hear that. So kind of ponder that question. But guys, you're listening to the Shrimp Tank Charleston show. Follow us on Apple Podcast. Under the search menu, type in the Shrimp Tank Charleston. You can also go to Spotify, or you can watch this interview. You can see how handsome J.R. McMullin is. And you can watch on YouTube our channel, the Charleston Shrimp Tank, or the Shrimp Tank Charleston channel. You can watch the episode as well. So you can do all that. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Attention. Do you own a whole life or universal life insurance policy? Were you told to expect a big tax-free nest egg at retirement, or that dividends will pay for the policy instead of you? Agents frequently sell products like this that are profitable for them, but not for you. Let Double E audit your policy at no cost. Call now to find out how Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions can help you. 843-936-6352. DoubleELLC.com. Securities offered through Fortune Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Elkins Financial, Double E LLC, and Fortune Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities.
Welcome back, guys, to the Shrimp Tank Charleston. I'm your host, Eric Elkins. I use the Shrimp Tank Charleston platform to continue elevating my life as well as our clients' lives, whether it's from networking or connecting our clients with Shrimp Tank guests, just like Mr. McMullin, where people need coastal security and investigative services, or other companies or people we've met with or interviewed with over the course of time. So if you want to reach out to me and be a potential guest on the show, please go to our website, www.doubleellc.com, and go to the contact us page. Sorry, I'm having a hard time talking today. And put your name in the hat, and we'd love to see if you might be a person that we want to have on the show. But let's get back to what we were talking about with J.R. McMullin from Coastal Security Services. Security and Investigative Services. Sorry, I don't want to forget the Investigative Services, CSSI. Not just CSI, it's CSSI, which is even bigger than CSI. Screw that show. Forget that. But I asked you prior to the break, I said the company at one time is around 28 employees, which is a really nice sized company probably. It's probably doing very well, profitable, all that kind of stuff. But then now you migrate to today, 2023, and you're close to 300 employees. Why? What caused that dramatic growth? Because that's not that much time. To me, 10 years to go from where you were to where you are now is actually kind of short to me for that kind of growth.
Right. So to answer the question, what caused it? I'd really accredit really the growth to some key hires of management. We've put together a great team now in our administrative or executive team that I can remember almost every date or year or month where they were onboarded, and over the course of the years, adding each key player really was kind of the next level and push to get us through, or we could really take on more challenge, take on more work. So all the credit would be really to the management for that second surge of growth.
So did they kind of help push you guys to, hey, let's try this, let's try that?
It really was the skill set they brought to the table. They shared the same work ethic and kind of fit into the culture of we're kind of up for anything, any sort of challenge. In 2014, we started with the Heritage Golf Tournament. I mean, that was a special event that we now still work. Next year will be our 10th year. We staff over 200 people for 10 days to secure that event.
It's one of the greatest golf. I used to go every year with my parents when I was a kid. It's amazing, and it's funny. Is it still Heritage, or did they get a? I know they went back to the Heritage and they lost. They had like RBC or something.
They still have RBC, but it's hosted by the Heritage Classic Foundation, and the title sponsor is the RBC Royal Bank of Canada.
Okay, and so stuff like that, where you previously 2014, you're not thinking, well, we'll do security for the golf tournament. And then that's like one of the things where someone's like, hey, we can do this.
I mean, I was also the driving factor of we can do this. Let's do it. My parents kind of instilled that in me, take on any challenge and do it to your best. But sharing that with the other, key management and the great group that we have now, that's what really made us even more confident and then, capable of taking on such a challenge.
So prior to 14, were you just doing certain security services? Like, was that what security represented 80% of the revenue?
Private communities, done, again, hospitals, different special event work. Most of it I would say, was gated communities in the beginning and private communities.
And then it scaled out to these industrial, the ports.
Yes.
Doing all this other sophisticated stuff. Anything come to mind that you guys had an idea or a concept, strategy for the company and you implemented it and it didn't work? Anything come to mind that was like, wow, we missed the boat on that? Or are you guys just perfect?
No, I mean, trust me. I mean, any entrepreneur, if they tell you it's perfect, they're making that up. No, I can't remember any, shortfalls or anything that we. We're hard on ourselves. We're pretty critical. So there's times where it may not have been the best, and we're managing people. So people aren't perfect by any means, and we'll make mistakes, we'll make issues, but it's really our ability to correct an issue or get something fixed quickly.
And so now that we're having this issue with staff and workforce either not wanting to work, whatever the reasons could be, everyone complains that it's hard to find good people. Even though there's all these people who are supposedly wanting work, it's still hard to find good people. Are you feeling that, dealing with that issue?
Absolutely. Yeah. COVID we kind of reference it like a storm, and we were lucky to kind of weather that storm. We made it through, but as everyone's probably experienced, it has absolutely changed the entire job market, the labor market. Our company's really built on when we go into different quotes or requests for proposals, it all starts with a wage rate. And if we're going to provide quality service, and if you're looking for quality security, it's generally something that someone should be viewing as an investment more than an expense. So if our clients are really taking an investment mindset, they're going to understand that we're targeting a much higher wage rate so that we can attract a solid candidate that wants to really perform and really do the function of providing security.
So when you're in competition with your competitors, are they typically less expensive than you, but you're going, hey, you're comparing, a Honda Accord, nothing wrong with a Honda Accord, to a Mercedes type of thing in some ways?
Yes, absolutely. So it's you can have Ford, Chevy, or Mercedes, Cadillac. It's really the the value added service we bring, the technology we use, the team that we bring to the table that will help solve different issues. There's a lot of different moving parts to a different industry or a different business that may want our service. So the need on the back end may not just be a person in a security uniform. There might be more to it, from custom reporting, custom patrol tours, different things they might need on site. We document certain things on either routine or at random, patrol stops, armed or unarmed, concealed or not concealed, just a lot of different things. But the back end team also can configure the technology, and then for a resident community, if they need their resident management system overhauled or managed or overlooked, we do stuff like that.
And if I'm a cop versus I come and join your company as a security guard, would my wages be better in the private sector versus, or it's hard to kind of compare?
That depends. I mean, it depends on where you were a cop. Some of the different either sheriff's department or a local police department all poses a different opportunity. Our jobs are really built around like a custom bid. So depending on what our client needs, we might have much higher wage rates that that would be higher than what law enforcement would make today.
And what kind of requirements are you looking for when you're hiring someone on your detail? Are they required that they were an ex-cop or they were ex-something, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. We're a big supporter of hiring veterans and prior law enforcement. So absolutely is a great thing to have coming into the security sector, but it's not a requirement. Other than that, it really depends on the state you're applying to work in. Currently we're licensed to work in South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. They all have different state regulations on what the licensing would be and stuff like that. I mean, the common things that are going to happen are background check, drug test, things like that. Some positions we might do a personality test to make sure you're a good fit. So it's not a requirement, but it's nice
any state harder between those three to deal with in your world?
Honestly, they're all a little different. They're structured different, and they have different requirements. Some roughly they're similar in the armed side of things. From a initial certification, you have to shoot X amount of rounds at a range with a qualified instructor. We have those in house. We actually have a virtual shooting range at our office where we pre-qualify candidates, where they can come in and they can practice, they can train shooting in what the range is, a virtual range, but it looks just like you're in a shooting range and you're shooting, a silhouette paper target. Our pistols have a recoil blowback on them, so they actually feel like you're shooting a real gun. So we do some initial training. We have a great training instructor.
So is it like a simulator type of situation?
Yes.
So it's like a video game and you were saying that you guys might sub that out for birthday parties. So like my 15-year-old son can have all his friends come over and they can shoot people and kill people on the virtual game type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it has all different types of simulations. So it does, there's like can toss, and you can shoot pop cans.
I'm not doing that. I want to go into the club and start shooting up and have them shooting at me and stuff. But go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's all right. But it has all different things, so we can have fun with it. And like you're saying, yes, we're going to eventually our instructor is going to be able to take this out to different locations, businesses, private residents, for whatever event they might want to have something like this.
It's a great idea.
We're going to bring it to events. Maybe CWE here.
That would be great at CWE.
Yep. And we can either train and bring you some guidance and instruction, or really just have fun with it. But it has all different types of scenarios. So you can actually go through a simulated building. There's a bank.
You can be like robbing a bank and then shoot the security guards. Can you do that?
In almost every scenario, you're the good guy. So you're the one.
I want to be a bad guy.
That's what we're training to do, is be the good guy. But we can actually film our own scenarios. So we could come in and film a different environment. We're going to film a couple schools. We're going to film, some of the major industries that we're armed in. We're going to actually go film our own, and you can build the course out from live video that you've recorded. And then pose different issues. And then some of the scenarios are live recorded video of people in different scenarios. Someone breaking into your house, or you're going in to clear a room or a building. So it's a real live video, but it's a virtual shooting experience.
Well, it's like your golf simulator, but you're playing with the firearms instead of playing golf.
That's right.
What is that? What is that like? A golf simulator can range from 10 to 20 grand. What is this? This thing's got to be a lot of money.
When you add it all up, it does get pretty expensive. I mean, it's a special projector that has a short throw in it. Then there's a infrared camera that reads where the firearm or the pistol, fires its shot. The guns themselves are priced just about the same cost as a normal pistol. We carry the SIG P320 in our company, and so we have those. We have Glocks. We have different things that you can shoot.
Really? Are multiple people able to shoot at the same time, or is it just
Yes.
one? Really? Mm-hmm. Wow, what a great training ground for your detail, your guards to practice, hone in on their skills, feel a little more, more prepared for real action type of thing. When you talk about schools, I want to ask you about that. I'm just curious because it's really disappointing. I have two boys in a public high school, and what's weird is they go to Lucy Beckham. There's no metal detectors when you enter the school. The sister rival is Wando. They do have metal detectors. I don't understand why some schools have this and some don't. And to me, it is very concerning with the concept of one of these teenagers coming in, bringing in a gun and just losing their, they're just not, psychologically right. So I don't know if I even asked a question, but I'm just curious your take on the school system, because it's really bothersome, and it's going to, unfortunately for you, you're dealing with really young kids that you'll have to go through this.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we're really passionate about. I mean, we're asked to guard people's most prized possessions. You're dropping your children off at school, and you're really hoping that they're going to have a safe environment and a nice, fun, exciting day. And then you turn on the news and you see tragic events of people that do just insane things. At schools in those types of environments that makes it really troublesome and kind of concerning for parents. I think also really to speak to that, I mean, we do some active shooter presentations and we talk about it. We just had a trade show where our main topics were active shooter in healthcare and in school environments. Unfortunately, it is trending up much faster than anyone wants to realize. And I know the school systems are doing their best to play catch up. A lot of great grant money is being funded and provided to aid schools in different security measures, and I see it often that they're doing their best. They're really trying to take a proactive measure, but it's not something you can do overnight. It takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of planning, it takes things to get all those security measures in place. But back to like metal detectors, they're also evolving very quickly, where there's new systems out that are really just weapon detection systems. You wouldn't even know you're walking through it's not really a metal detector. It's actually looking for guns, knives, and bombs on your person and in your bags. So that's becoming more common. You may see it at larger stadiums now. It's not inexpensive equipment. It's robust stuff that's really.
So in 10 years, do you think most of this will be installed at most of these schools, stadiums? You think we'll see it, or is it? If you had to say 10 years from now, no, I don't know. I don't know if it'll look much different than it is now.
I would say yes. I mean, it's definitely on people's agenda, and it's a top priority. So we're seeing it where anytime there's new construction or a renovation plan for a school or something, they're more often than not they have security in mind. If you're going to change something out, you may as well really consider if it's better for security or not good for security. Even down to your landscaping. I mean, and just the initial infrastructure of your entrance and things like that. From the cameras, the access control, the key card readers, where you place staff, things like that. People are starting to really catch on, and they're taking it serious.
Guys, you're listening to the Shrimp Tank Charleston show. We're going to take our last break, but we'll be right back with J.R. McMullin of Coastal Security and Investigative Services, better known as CSSI. We'll be right back.
If you're like most successful business executives, you would probably rather stick your arm in a bucket of snakes than formulate a strategy for your insurance and financial needs. Who even understands estate planning, 401k plans, or key men insurance? We do. We are Double E, your virtual Chief Insurance and Financial Officer. Let us free you up to do more of what you do best and less of what we do better. Call 843-936-6352. EELLC.com. Securities offered through Fortune Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Elkins Financial EE LLC and Fortune Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities.
Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to the Shrimp Tank Charleston show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins. We have J.R. McMullin from Coastal Security and Investigative Services today in the Double E studios. Again, if you prefer to watch our interviews, please go to YouTube and type under the search menu, the Shrimp Tank Charleston. You can watch the interview, or of course you can listen to it on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, blah, blah, blah. So all these channels, we're everywhere. We're nationally syndicated. And you can hear other Shrimp Tank shows from the other cities such as Los Angeles, Dallas, Tulsa, Boston. They have great guests as well, like Mr. McMullin we have today. So, JR, let's go. I'm curious. Here's a question that I have for you. We're talking about your company. It's obviously doing well. There's more and more need for security because of the threats that we unfortunately are living in this country. If you had to say, what does life look like for Coastal Security Services and Investigative Services, in 5 years from now, what does that look like in your mind? But what also do you look like personally in 5 years? Fast forward, what does that picture look like?
So what's today and what's 5 years from today?
Yeah, what does the life look like for the company 5 years from today, and what does JR look like personally in 5 years?
5 years from now, I mean, we do have some great growth structure and plans right now. The team is getting close to, I'd say, almost complete, where we have people actively working on different. We've never really had anyone in sales. We've never needed to. Our growth has really all been organic, word of mouth, or just referenced, and we've grown exponentially over the years. This year was a big year for us. We improved a couple different systems. We moved our headquarters now to a brand new building and facility that's a great fit for us. So organized a lot of different things. I honestly, the growth is great, but sometimes kind of scary. I know we're going to have some growing pains over the years, but I honestly could see within 5 years our company will be, if not 3 times, maybe 4 times the size.
Really? Mm-hmm. You heard that. Well, it will be, because the ROI after being on the Shrimp Tank Charleston is 10 times. So the company will be 10 times larger just because you were on the show. So, and you don't owe me anything for that. It's not a big deal. It's just something that I want to personally provide. Okay, so the company's 10 times the size, but still doing the same type of things. Do you see the company more involved in technology, artificial intelligence, instead of real people guarding? Is there like lasers shooting people if they're doing something wrong?
Not particularly shooting, but detecting. So AI, yeah, I mean, it's all over. Everyone's hearing about it. It's kind of trending right now. But in the security sector, it's becoming really popular, and where general users may experience it is, with your home security system. If you have either Google Nest cameras or Wise cameras or something like that, and you see that little box around an object or a moving, like a car or a person. That's a camera really being able to detect an object or a thing, and to deep dive into that, really, camera being able to detect that and then act on that is really where the AI is coming into place. I've seen some really cool systems, trade shows and different things where, let's go back to a school sector or school environment where if you have the right security system, your camera could detect either an abnormal event taking place on the exterior or even detect someone walking with a long gun or a pistol or a firearm, and actually initiate a lockdown procedure, begin locking certain doors. If someone were in the building and they were causing harm or an incident, those cameras can identify that type of threat or issue and then begin a procedure without human involvement.
So if I'm in the classroom, the door's going to automatically be closed, and then hypothetically the doors all lock. So if that shooter is in the hallway, he's not going to be able to get into the classroom because it's been locked.
Hopefully not, or really slow someone down. It really is. It's all preventative measure. There's no perfect answer unless you're, in a vault. Someone could probably even figure out a way to get in that. But, it's when you really break down, active shooter threats, time is not on your side. The response time from law enforcement, the response time from other agencies to come and eliminate that threat is longer than anybody wants to talk about. And that's the scary part, is the amount of time a bad guy has against the good guys.
We need something to fall from the ceiling, and like a cell block that just you hit the button and then it falls, and then they're stuck in a cell and they can't move.
There's actually, coincidentally, there's some things where they have a gas that they can deploy from, basically a chamber. It looked like a sprinkler head, but it would deploy a gas that will actually neutralize somebody.
Really?
Kind of like a tear gas, but yeah, it would basically knock them out.
All right, what about you personally? What do you look like?
In 5 years? That's hard to say. I promised my wife I would work less, but she knows.
What does that day typically look like? What time are you getting up? You have like a routine?
Well, I have two little ones, so I got a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old. They, they're love them to death, but man, they sure do like to wake us up at any random hour and then make sure we're up before the sun's up, which I don't mind. I grew up hunting and fishing, so waking up at 3, 4, 5 in the morning was nothing to me. In 5 years, they're going to be a little bit more grown, and the company is really coming together with, again, the great team and culture. So as that really, as they all work together, collaborate, I can see us being, again, 3 to 4 times the size. We have a great growth plan, but I hope I'm working a little bit less. Would be.
And when you say working less, how many hours would you say you average per day for work?
It varies. I mean, our days are random, and our industry is a 24/7, 365 industry. We don't have days off. Holidays are not like you take the week off and go enjoy Christmas. It really doesn't work like that in our industry. You never know what phone call you're going to get. You never know what issue could arise. So, as we grow, the different layers of management that get implemented, the ones now have really helped me take off some of that load of decision making and day-to-day operation over the last couple of years, and that's allowed me to really focus more on the business instead of working in the business. So I hope in 5 years that's really helping me contribute to the working on part, because it's tough to work in it when you need it to grow, and you have to have different ideas, and I have to implement different things and help keep it steered in the right direction.
Is there anything that you can think of that if you were to tell the audience, if one of the tools that you personally use or a routine or something that you feel like helps and has elevated your success, like I can't, and I'm unfortunately not even coming to, I have this specific routine that I do every day that journaling, or I wake up at 3:00 in the morning and I read 6 books, and then I get in a cold plunge, and then I listen to 6 podcasts. I mean, is there something that you do? This is what people want to hear, this magic pill.
Yeah, I wish I had a magic pill. Unfortunately, I don't. My driving factor would really probably be the the work ethic that my parents instilled in me. I'm just still passionate about what we do, the places we work, the success stories we've had. Both on the security and investigative side, and we've done some amazing and great things for people. I don't necessarily have a routine because our industry and business really isn't routine. It's random. Things happen. You could get a phone call at 2 a.m. We have issues arise at any hour of the day. So really, it would actually probably be quite the opposite: is not having a routine, staying flexible, staying optimistic. As a leader, I always try to stay very focused on if I'm being faced with a problem, there is a solution. I just have to either lean on my team. We're very collaborative in our office. If someone has an issue or problem, if they need help or assistance, really we table it with a great group. You can call it a think tank, but we put everyone together really to overcome any issue that comes up.
Well, I think you said things that are crucial. One, you said the word passion. You still have the passion about this business, and people you're not going to be, in my opinion, you won't be very successful if you don't have passion in what you're doing. And then the collaboration with your team is another big piece to me that I think is super important, which, we've gotten into this work at home, work remote type of thing. And I've been I wasn't against it, but then we had a speaker come in from Vistage and kind of changed my thought process a little bit on it, in the sense that if you work remote, it's only good for if that person's just working on task, like a to-do list that doesn't involve using a lot of brain work, just executing these tasks. But you're going to lose out drastically the creativity, the think tank, the idea sharing, the competitiveness. All that's going to go away if you get more and more people working from home. And what people, I think, don't realize when they do work from home too much is depression, because it's almost like they don't realize they're almost in solitary confinement, where they don't socialize, and then they get more and more used to it, but they don't know that they think they like it, but they don't really understand that, hey, this isn't probably helping your mental state as well. I've seen that so much with older people who just stay home all day, and they're like, well, that's what I like to do. But I'm like, but you're so depressed.
Yeah, and then in our line of work, we're dealing with some of these really high stress issues. So to be able to be in the office and working, in that culture and collaborate with others or share the stress of a problem with the others is really, I think that's one, stress relieving, and two, it helps a team basically attack a problem instead of an individual.
Well said. All right. I got some questions from subscribers that came in. You have to answer them. I'm sorry, because they came from subscribers. So this first one is from Don from Fort Worth, Texas. Do you think Alec Murdaugh murdered his wife and son?
Tough question. There was
In your personal opinion, do you think he was the person who pulled the trigger?
I do. In my personal opinion, I mean, that after viewing the trial, the case, some of the things that were released and discovered, there was a heavy view on the technology side of what investigators.
And you guys were involved a little bit for security for this case, correct? Or
no, not from a security side. There really wasn't a whole ton of involvement from security.
Okay. My bad. Okay, so you do think that deep down he did pull the trigger. Do you think there was anybody else there?
Again, another tough question. I do believe so. It was a tough task to pull off by yourself. But there were some great pieces that were put out as the trial had gone on, of timelines or breakouts of where things were at certain times, that it really puts an interesting perspective on the capability of what one person could have accomplished in that timeline.
You talked to your father about that case?
I have.
I'm sure he has some interesting opinions of
does.
that. We're going to have Eric Bland, the kind of one of the main attorneys that blew up the case, that kind of really opened it up to a lot of problems for Alec Murdaugh in a couple weeks. We already had him on the show, but we're having him again. I'll be curious to see what he says about, because there's some obviously conspiracies, and I have my thoughts, but what do my thoughts matter? I'm just an insurance financial guy. I don't even know how to use the gun that I have, let alone I can't remember where I hid it right this second. Okay, second question. Joe from Beaufort, South Carolina, near your woods. What is your most interesting PI story, private investigative story? Like, do you guys work on that show, Cheaters? Do you all help out that show, Cheaters?
No, but we do a lot of adultery work. Gosh, the stories we could share.
You don't tell me who it is, but is there one that comes to mind that you're like, this was pretty interesting or funny or just something?
So one was kind of a success story that kind of hit home for us. Child custody case, Hispanic couple. Wife hires us to monitor the whereabouts of her husband. They were, seeking divorce, and she was in fear of the child. We were tracking him, surveilling him. He ends up going and withdrawing the child from school on a weekday, and gets on the highway. And we have parameters set on our trackers where we know when they're starting to hit, when they're leaving counties, towns, crossing state lines. Through the evening, he had made it all the way to Texas, and it appeared that he was heading to leave the country. We were able to get the case, basically the abduction, pushed through NCIC, for law enforcement to see it, multi-state. I believe it was in San Antonio. We get on with San Antonio PD, basically give them a description of vehicle and him and the child. They find him, stop him. They were able to, detain him and, get the child. They put him with Department of Social Services, and then get him brought back to South Carolina. Funny part of that story was they were in that process. We were trying to we were talking to one of the deputies and the dispatchers, and we said, we need to talk to the deputy who's right there. We need our tracker. So they were able to locate the tracker on the vehicle, get it removed, and we said, put it in the kid's backpack. So we actually were able to tell the mom, we are going to track your son all the way home. So that was a cool one that kind of makes you feel good at the end of the day. Some other casework. I mean, we've done international, where we've left the country following husbands and wives.
Or mistresses.
Yeah, all the above. And then some people really, it's just, we do peace of mind work. I mean, people sometimes just can't get it out of their brain that, they're, what's my son doing? Where is this person going? could be care for your elder, your grandfather or grandmother, whoever may be in an elderly home. I mean, we've done investigative of care all over the place. I mean, it's really, if you have something that you can't figure out or need an answer, that's really what we do. We just identify an objective and what kind of evidence you want. I mean, we work with law firms, all kinds of stuff.
So if you guys, good question, Joe from Beaufort, South Carolina, if you think your spouse is cheating on you right now, or your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, you can reach out to Coastal Security and Investigative Services at 844-888-2774. And if you live in Florida, South Carolina, or Georgia, you could easily hire these guys because they have offices all over those 3 states. So you can leverage this company not only to guard your warehouse, but to guard your husband or wife or whoever you need to guard, or look into things internally at your company that you might be insecure about. You should just pick up the phone and call 844-888-2774. And that's Coastal Security and Investigative Services. And you can just tell them that the Shrimp Tank sent you. JR told me they would give you a huge discount on your PI work. Okay, last question. Meredith from Fort Collins, Colorado. With the technology today, are you surprised we haven't had more assassination attempts on one of our presidents over the last however many years?
Well, I see technology working both ways. There's offense and defense. Assassination attempts, it's hard to say. I mean, from a technology standpoint, I mean, I remember I did a large study on the DC sniper. That was that one was posed.
Wasn't that like 2 people or something?
It was.
They were shooting from the highways and stuff.
Right, in a vehicle where they could lay down in the back, and they could. It was through a hole in the trunk, and they were shooting just random people at WalMarts and shopping centers, and it was tragic. It was terrible. I mean, it created serious havoc in those areas. But I see it both ways. Where obviously, on the offensive side, for prevention of an assassination, I mean, there's intel. There's now if you can Google the different AI systems that are in cameras and detection systems. It's becoming more popular. And the amount of I would say advanced security work that's done in preparation for anyone in kind of our presidential cabinet that might be traveling or going somewhere is pretty extensive. So there's a lot of offense against any sort of.
I am surprised because it just seems like that president goes into a Bojangles, and next thing you know, you just think. To me, it just seems like someone could just be somewhere 1,000 yards and just do their thing, or what? I don't know. I'm going to end up getting investigated because I have no interest in doing any of that. But it is surprising. I'm surprised that we haven't really seen like more bombs or things, more terrorist attacks, not like 9/11, but more local type terrorist attacks. So
most recently, I don't know if you remember the hoax that took place where essentially a robocaller had dialed multiple schools from Savannah, or basically the Georgia, South Carolina, moved all the way up from from our area in Beaufort County. It hit Charleston, it hit Myrtle Beach, it hit Columbia. Basically, a robodialer had called and threatened with a bomb threat. And then threatened with active shooter. So it was pretty scary to think. I mean, the law enforcement response, the amount of assets that were moved to those locations for a total hoax. Sometimes it was not. You don't want to say it's a great drill, but really, and then when you look at it, what was the real intention of that? I mean, they think it was just a total joke. I mean, I know the FBI took over and investigated it, but luckily there was no threat to that.
You should go to prison for the rest of your life.
I would agree.
For that. When they had that shooter a couple of weeks ago in Charleston, where they were chasing, and then they shot the guy, and then the other guy jumped off the bridge and died. The traffic was so bad here for so many hours, and I had to drive to Charlotte. I was like, if these guys live, they should be given the death penalty for the amount of traffic that they've caused. It took me like 9 hours to get to Charlotte because of that. Those guys, I don't even know what their purpose was, but all right. Good questions. Thank you for those who subscribed and sent in their questions. You can continue doing that for the future shows. I again want to say, JR, thank you. You have a very interesting company. You have a lot of great stories that we could share, but we just don't have the airtime. Plus, I got to go back to work. But I'm very impressed with Coastal Security and Investigative Services. Again, if you need help with security in regards to your building, your firm, your staff, warehouses, industrial, healthcare facilities, private investigative work, all kinds of, if you just think of a need for security, you should call Coastal Security and Investigative Services. It sounds like these guys are not only growing drastically, but they're going to end up blowing up because they were on the Shrimp Tank Charleston today, on top of the growth that they have planned for. And JR, seems like that you guys got the right management team in place to keep just scaling that company very well. And hats off to your mom and dad for help, giving you and your brother this opportunity, but also the fact that your dad fought and beat cancer, your mom focused in on the family and quit her corporate job. And next thing you know, it all works out and you have this beautiful company that's changing people's lives that work there. So congrats. Again, if you want to reach out and utilize Coastal Security Investigative Services, CSSI, you can reach them at 844-888-2774, or you can go to their website, coastalsecurityservicesinc.com, and check them out. It's a great company. I'm very impressed with it. I look forward to having you on in 5 years and seeing that you guys did grow 5 times, 10 times, whatever it might be. Guys, great show today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please check out our previous episodes on various podcast channels and follow the show. If you are a visual person, please watch the interviews on our YouTube channel. Also, I'd love to connect with my listeners, so please follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Just look up Eric Elkins, Elkins, EE, or Shrimp Tank Charleston, and somehow all those will show up in some form or fashion. If you or your company would like to have any kind of conversation with EE Insurance and Financial Solutions, you need help with your retirement, your employee benefits, you got to figure out how to take care of those 300 employees or 20 employees, whatever you have. We're here to help you with that, or EE is. So take advantage. You can reach EE at www.eellc.com, or you can contact service via email at eellc.com. We would love to help or have a conversation with you. Lastly, if you think you know of someone that is an entrepreneur or a leader making an impact like a J.R. McMullin in the world, that would be a fantastic guest to be on the show. Please contact our producer, Kristen Killman, at kk@eellc.com. I'm Eric Elkins, and focus on being a one percenter. JR, you know what a one percenter is?
Help me out.
Then you don't listen to these shows, because I answer this question to every guest, and then JR is not a listener, but that's okay. He is now. So a one percenter, it's someone that does what 99% of people won't do.
Yeah, certainly.
And it sounds like you're a one percenter. Services investigated. So Coastal Security and Investigative Services, CSSI, is a one percenter.
Absolutely.
Forget these competition. Whoever you're using now for security at your company, fire them and contact Coastal Security and Investigative Services immediately, because these guys will take care of you. Guys, thank you for tuning in. JR, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Eric.
Take care, guys.
shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome to the Shrimp Tank Charleston Show. I'm your host, Eric Elkins, but in real life, I'm an entrepreneur and founder of Double E Insurance and Financial Solutions. Double E helps individuals and companies navigate through their financial insurance portfolios. Double E provides clients an entertaining and unique experience. The Shrimp Tank Charleston Show allows us the opportunity to interview and learn from the brightest entrepreneurs and leaders around. We dive into their journey and discover what drove them to become so successful. We will make sure we get out of them not only the wins, but also the losses that they have had on their journey. We are a nationally syndicated podcast that can be heard and watched on YouTube, Google, Apple, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can also tune in and subscribe to our shows on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com/Charleston, or check us out on the Double E website, double-ellc.com.